Caught my brother's girlfriend and her daughter stealing from my home, confronted them, and now my brother says I was too harsh. I, 39F, have a brother, 32 male, who I'll call Chase. Chase has been with this girl, 35F, that I'll call Vivian for almost 2 years now. About a month into their relationship, Vivian got pregnant with my nephew who is now almost a year old. Vivian also has 2 daughters, 5F and 8F, from a previous relationship. Her daughters are very close in age to my daughter, 7F, and up until last weekend everyone got along fine. They live in a different state than us but come to visit fairly often and stay with us because we have the extra room. Last weekend they came to stay again and about an hour before they left my daughter noticed that a few of her favorite toys were missing. The girls were playing all weekend so I didn't think much of it and offered to help her look for them. After about 20 minutes of searching we could not find the toys anywhere so I asked Vivian's girls if they remembered where they were playing with them last. The girls said no but acted a little guilty about it. I asked Chase and Vivian about it and Chase said he saw the exact toys in the room that Vivian's girls were sleeping in. We went to check and they were not there. He asked Vivian if she had moved them when she packed the girls' things that morning and she said they were not there. We went back into the living room and I saw Vivian's girls huddled close together over a backpack and quickly closed it when they saw we were there. Chase asked the girls again if they knew where the toys were and this time they didn't say anything and just looked at their mom. Chase reached for the bag and Vivian lost it. She started yelling at me how dare I accuse her daughters of stealing and she tried to snatch the bag away. Chase opened it and there were the missing toys plus a few more. I was absolutely furious. I told her I wanted to see what else she had and demanded she open the 2 suitcases. She said that was an invasion of her privacy and tried to take them and leave. Chase stopped her and made her open them. She had taken several tops, a few skirts and dresses, and a brand new pair of Nikes that belonged to my daughter. I took everything back and told her she and her girls were not allowed back into my home. I have since received several texts from her and a few unknown numbers telling me I embarrassed her and upset her girls because they were promised the items. Chase is upset with her but said I was too mean to her in front of everyone and that I could have handled the situation more privately. I do feel awful that her girls left crying but Atha for how I handled the situation. Edited to add, answers to a few questions I keep getting. I am not sure who promised the girls the items. She would not elaborate but I'm assuming it was her. She wanted me to pull her aside into a different room away from Chase and the kids to talk the situation out. Also yes, I'm 99% sure the baby is his. He is almost a carbon copy of my brother when he was a baby. I do not believe the girls knew they were stealing the things. I really believe that their mom told them I said it was okay. We have never had problems with the girls before this, they really seem to be good kids. Also, I'll be talking with my brother tonight or tomorrow to discuss things further. Edit number 2, I will be speaking with my brother in about an hour. I have been in contact with someone that knows her and a lot has come to light. I will update again if my brother says I can as it's his life and not mine. Vivian is not at all who she claims to be. Update 1. Well this has certainly blown up but who am I to deny the people of what they want? Cos lore. For obvious reasons I'm going to be a little vague with certain details for privacy reasons. Mainly I don't want this crazy train coming back into my life and hopefully you'll understand why by the end. So buckle up bitches, this one is long and wild. And please don't judge me, we don't associate with any of these people anymore and haven't for over a decade. Also, I will say that she is a very pretty girl and has usually gotten whatever she wants from men so she's not used to hearing no. 2005, when I was 18 my then boyfriend now husband, and I were invited to a house party hosted by a friend of a friend to celebrate graduation. We knew about half the people there and had been to the house a handful of times before. We were all hanging out in the basement and after a few drinks I went upstairs to use the bathroom and that's where I met Cos who was 14 at the time. The bathroom door was open so I walked in and turned on the light but to my surprise there she was with some guy, in the bathtub, doing things you typically wouldn't do in an unlocked room. I apologized and found a different bathroom. About an hour later she came downstairs where the rest of us were and locked in on my boyfriend and made a beeline for him. Keep in mind I am right next to him. She tries to sit on his lap and when he pushes her off of him she pops back up like a demented Jack in the Box and immediately starts screeching about how she was just playing you aren't even hot and you could do so much better than her to him. We stayed another hour or so and left. A week later she was blowing up the guy's phone that she hooked up with telling him she was pregnant. When he didn't believe her, because honestly who would after just a week, she tried to press charges for rape. I do know my boyfriend and I both had to talk to a police officer because we were both there and I was the one that walked in on them. I don't know what happened after that but the charges were eventually dropped. 2009, my husband and I are 22 and she is 18. We are now married and living on the East Coast because he's in the military. We come home for his parents' 4th of July party and get tasked with going to get more ice. He runs in to pay and I'm standing by the ice chests outside waiting for him and guess who shows up? She walks straight up to me and says something along the lines of she's glad I finally learned my place and that her and my husband have been so happy together for the last year. She also made some very vulgar comments about their sex life. I don't even have time to react to her when he comes back outside and she goes pale and then bright red. This crazy bitch then has the audacity to look at my husband and ask him what he wants for dinner that night and tried to remind him of plans they have that weekend to go to the lake with her family while he just stands there staring at her like a dumbass and then asks if he knows her. I absolutely lose it and almost piss myself from laughing as she stalks off. Once we are back to his parents, he gets a FB friend request from her and deletes it. Over the period of 3 days she sends him 4 or 5 friend requests, so he blocks her. We go back to NC the following week and forget all about her, again. 2010, I am now 7 months pregnant with our daughter and we fly back to our hometown one last time before she's born, of course run into Cos again at Walmart. I know how it sounds, but we're from a town of about 5,000 people, so you kind of see everyone all the damn time whether you want to or not. I'm noticeably pregnant as I'm about 7 meters along. I'm also only 5 feet 2 inches and at the time weighed about 115 pounds, so it was very clearly a baby bump. She is with her sister and they seem to be following us, but we try to ignore them. We are now checking out and again they are right behind us still acting like children, but in her defense she was 19-ish at the time. We are still ignoring them and her sister says fairly loudly he'll dump her now that she's fat. We continue to ignore them and leave the store. Later that day a friend tells us to check Facebook and lo and behold there is a picture of me in the snack aisle with the caption, "When you catch your surrogate buying nothing but junk food," and so many comments agreeing how horrible I am. This psycho had been telling everyone that I was the surrogate for her and my husband's baby. We filed in Roe the next day. 2018, we moved back to our hometown and buy my family's farmland to start our own cattle business. Highly don't recommend if you like to be able to make and keep plans, see your family, or take vacations. As far as we know she has gotten married and is living her life away from us. About 6 months into us being back we get a letter in the mail from a family lawyer saying my husband needs to present himself for a paternity test and we were being sued for child support. Apparently the baby girl came out white and Cos's husband was not. She told her husband that my husband had raped her and that it was his baby. Charges were filed and thankfully we were still in North Carolina at the time of conception and the Army is very meticulous about know where their soldiers are at all times. The rape charges were immediately dismissed, as was the paternity test and child support. We filed another Roe and installed cameras all over our property. Her husband ended up adopting the baby and they stayed together. 2020, she makes the front page of our town paper. Apparently Cos had another baby girl who also did not match her husband's skin tone. He kicked her and the kids out and one night she came back to his house, in full view of his security cameras, in her own car, with the kids and set his porch on fire. The husband got temporary custody of the girls for about 2 years while Cos was in jail. 2023, she gets the girls back and dips out of state. The husband files a police report and everyone is looking for her. Unfortunately the husband passes in a car accident the same year. 2025, I'm doom scrolling on Reddit and see a story that sounds very familiar and here we are. Reasons I thought it was her from the other post, well I think that's the meat and potatoes of it. I'll be around later this afternoon to answer any questions. I may have some of the dates off but hell, my memory is trash these days and I try not to think about her or any of those crazies. Update 2. Wow, okay, so I really did not expect the response to the last update, and honestly I had to take a breather after the full Cos experience y'all dragged out of me. Y'all have some eagle eyes, by the way. Respect, but as promised, I spoke to my brother. Turns out this is just the beginning of the real story. If you thought the drama was cooked, you haven't even smelled what's in the oven yet. Chase came over last night for the first real brother-sister talk we've had in months that wasn't just about the baby or how tired he is. I could tell right away something was off. He was quiet in that way you know someone is holding back a meltdown. Turns out, despite the absolute madness in my living room, he was still holding on to hope that this was all a huge misunderstanding, maybe even some kind of accident or mix-up. Bless his heart, but I guess hope really does spring eternal. I told him everything I'd found out about Vivian, her drama, her past, the things people messaged me from our hometown. The stalker stuff, the false accusations, how her ex passed away and how she dropped off the grid. I even showed him receipts, screenshots of messages, the mugshot from the porch fire. You can't make this up. That's when the dam broke. He finally admitted that stuff has been weird for a while, but he didn't want to see it. Stuff going missing from their apartment. His debit card showing up at 7-Eleven 3 towns over, which he brushed off as maybe I dropped it. Multiple accidents where random valuables would vanish during playdates or after Vivian's friends helped clean up. And then, a couple of months ago, he'd gotten a call from daycare. His son was being picked up by Aunt Diane. Chase doesn't have an Aunt Diane, and neither does Vivian. Apparently, he confronted Vivian. She swung into full-on waterworks, accused him of not trusting her, threatened to leave with the kids, claimed she was sick from stress. Sound familiar? He backed down, because, again, the baby, the stepkids, keeping the family together. But after our conversation, he finally started connecting the dots. He returned home and, while she was out, dug through her stuff. What he found absolutely blew my mind. She had a stash of toy packaging, price tags, and even, get this, my daughter's birthday card that had gone missing 2 months ago during a FaceTime call burn session. Credit cards in 3 different names, including Aunt Diane. And, in a hidden folder on her email, a draft of a message to her ex-husband's mother asking for money, pretending to be me. She had basically written a sob story about my medical emergency and financial hardship, asking for a wire transfer. We realized pretty quickly that this wasn't just a little stealing. Vivian was running entire scams out of my brother's apartment. Not, like, Ocean's 11, but definitely some Dollar General level grifting. When Chase confronted her, she went nuclear, screaming about betrayal, accusing him of setting her up. She packed everyone in the car and tried to leave, but instead of running home, the cops caught up with her outside Walgreens. Why? Apparently, Vivian had been using the Aunt Diane identity to pick up other people's children at daycare. She'd targeted single dads, like my brother, by searching social media for people mentioning co-parenting and then sliding into DMs or community pages to volunteer at moms groups. She'd been running this con in at least 2 other counties before Chase, and one woman had filed a missing persons report for her toddler after a similar pickup attempt. She's now been arrested for fraud, identity theft, and intent to kidnap/minor endangerment, pending hearings on the daycare incident. Chase is shaken to the core. He spent the last weekend giving full statements to police and making about 1,000 calls to lawyers and social services. The promised toys and clothes? Some of them were listed for sale on Facebook Marketplace the day before the visit here. She literally posted pics of my daughter's Nikes on a local mother's swap group. The 2 older girls, after being interviewed, admitted that Vivian told them to help her pack the things that belong to them now. When they asked why, she said, "Just say Aunt Diane gave them to you." She'd told them Aunt Diane was their grandma and sent them to Grandma's house when she needed a break, from our dead mother, mind you. And her ex's alleged porch fire/jail sentence? Let's just say, even the local PD said, "Oh, you mean her," when Chase filed the report. Chase is currently working with Child Protective Services. The girls are staying temporarily with their actual grandmother, Vivian's mother, who seems exhausted but stable, and who apologized profusely to my family, and my little girl. My nephew is safe, and we're supporting my brother as much as we can, but he's naturally overwhelmed. Apparently, there's also a lawyer trying to put together a case for a pattern of fraud involving endangerment and repeated misrepresentation, but the law moves slowly and Vivian is proving to be a slippery customer. Even after arrest, she's trying to call people from jail and beg for bail money. I never, ever thought a missing toy post would escalate into this. Family is wild. Trust your instincts, but also, listen to the little stuff. You never know if it's the tip of the iceberg. I owe my daughter and her little cousins big time for keeping their eyes open and not letting weird things slide. Update 3. Extremely unexpected. So, as you know, last week Vivian was arrested after Chase discovered her Aunt Diane grift and the stolen toy ring operation. The chaos that followed was wild. Calls from police, CPS interviews in my kitchen, and neighbors peeked through the curtains so much no one on our block is ever getting a true surprise birthday party again. But by Monday morning the family group chat was blowing up again. Why? Because Vivian broke out of jail. Yeah, you read that right. Before you picture some kind of high-speed car chase or Mission Impossible ductwork escape, let me clarify, she didn't dig a tunnel. Jail was probably not the right word. She was in a holding facility doing an out-of-state custody transfer, and someone bungled the paperwork, leaving her unattended in a side office. She literally just slipped out with a janitor who was holding the door and walked down Main Street like she was headed to buy a pumpkin spice latte. By noon, she was officially listed as on the run. Not kidding. The local TV station put up her photo. I have video of her walking past my house from our doorbell cam, which I immediately sent to the detective. Here's where things get nuts. She snuck back into my house. I was out running errands with the kids, so I didn't even know. But she knew our routines, and apparently, she let herself in with some hidden key she'd swiped during one of the previous visits. She rummaged through drawers, bagged a bunch of my daughter's things again, including the Nikes, again, and then left a note in my sock drawer. The note was just handwritten bubble letters that said, "Sorry 3V," and a list of the promises she said she owed her girls, literally toys, clothes, and a family photo for memory. It gets even more. Netflix docuseries. While she was in the house, she logged into my computer and sent emails to Chase posing as me, begging him to give her another chance and help her escape to a new life. She also sent herself $47 on Venmo from my husband's account before the fraud alert flagged it and locked us down. The detective says they found a separate prepaid burner phone and a trail of messages from Vivian attempting to contact at least 4 other people to either pick her up or lend her bail money. Meanwhile, her mother, who has custody of the older girls, was getting coded messages through TikTok. Yes, apparently there's a whole community for Mommy's Hideout Club. If you see a random montage of stick figure families with the caption "Adventure Girls Escape the Darkness," congrats, that's your warning sign. Cops flooded the neighborhood. They questioned anyone who'd spoken to her. Chase, bless him, barricaded himself and my nephew inside and waited it out. And then, horror movie style, Vivian showed up on foot, in the middle of a thunderstorm, trying every door on our street looking for a place to hide. She was finally spotted crouched beside my neighbor's chicken coop, clutching a Target bag that, swear on my life, contained the Nikes, some Barbie dolls, and 3 bags of Cheetos. By then, dozens of people had seen her on the Nextdoor app. The police showed up, and she was finally apprehended, sopping wet and still insisting she had unfinished business with her girls. But that's not even the end. After being rearrested, Vivian started singing like a canary. In exchange for a reduced sentence, she dropped detailed accounts of shared ventures with at least 2 other women from a neighboring state, both of whom specialized in borrowed kid scams, babysitting, moving in, identity theft, you name it. There's now an open case for a multi-state child accessory conspiracy. This is a real thing, apparently. Takeaways: if I haven't lost you and you're still reading, we now have a new front door, 2 deadlocks, and security cameras basically covering every inch of my house. Chase's ex, who will call Vivian forever, faces a pile of charges. The kids are safe for now with their grandmother, who is in absolute protective lioness mode. Her phone is still blowing up with exes and friends of Vivian, all of whom seem relieved she's not in their lives anymore. I will never, ever think missing toys is a small deal again. Next time my kid looks for Lego heads, I'm checking passports and calling the feds. And yes, the infamous Nikes are finally back, and my daughter is over the moon, although she says they're now her lucky shoes that survived a true crime. Vivian's mugshot has now been shared on every community page across 3 counties, and the phrase Aunt Diane has been banned from all family jokes for eternity. The moral of the story? When you have gut feelings about someone, believe them. And maybe lock up the Halloween candy with a biometric safe. TLDR, Vivian went on the run, broke into my house, spammed my contacts from my own laptop, got caught by the cops hiding behind a chicken coop with stolen goods, and, oh yeah, she's now part of a multi-state scam ring. If you made it this far, 1. You probably think I'm making this up now, even though I swear I'm not. 2. If Netflix ever wants to adapt this, I at least want the shoes framed as a prop in their offices. 3. Someone please send wine. Update 4. The only way is up, or sideways into true crime documentaries. Sit down, get a snack, and if you're new to this saga, congratulations, you just stumbled into the Reddit version of Law & Order. SVU meets Tiger King with extra Barbie dolls. If you told me last month I'd be trading missing toy stories with actual detectives, I would have said you were living in the parallel universe where literal Disney villains run parenting groups, but here we are. First, for anyone worried about my family, we're safe. My house now has enough cameras and locks to rival Fort Knox. My daughter has developed a keen eye for suspicious behavior and is this close to becoming the youngest ever certified mall cop. But hang on to your hats, because after the great chicken coop showdown and Vivian's melodramatic recapture, the fallout only got weirder. The fallout, and the first, insane, court hearing I spent last week triaging disaster, social workers, repairmen for doors Vivian tested during her Houdini routine, and then subpoenas. Apparently, as Vivian started talking to the police, all her Aunt Diane shenanigans began unraveling across multiple states. CPS confirmed the kids were safe and surprisingly, the girls are doing okay under their grandmother's care. She's basically embracing her new role as commander of the Deflector Shields, Kids Edition. But here's where things took a hard left. At Vivian's preliminary hearing, dozens of parents from 3 towns over showed up, half of them in matching shirts with "Free the Nikes" on the front. I am not joking, Facebook moms have no chill, to see the woman who tried to walk out of Target with their children/possessions. Several came as witnesses in the Facebook Marketplace investigation alone. Plot twist, Vivian had a handler so, it turns out, Vivian wasn't just freelancing her grifting gig. Police discovered she'd been recruited through an online support group for single mothers and blended families in crisis. The group was actually a front for low-level organized theft rings. Of course it was, because why wouldn't it be? Vivian's handler, a woman calling herself Miss B, ran a digital swap meet for stolen goods, connecting moms who'd swipe high-demand kids' clothes, toys, and even electronics, which were then flipped overnight and shipped out of state. Some things Vivian took, and my daughter's Nikes, hilariously, had photos and listings traced across 5 resale sites under fake names. My kids' tiny shoes have more air miles than half my family. But Vivian was the only one dumb, or desperate, enough to keep going after being caught. When she gave up the ringleaders, Miss B was arrested, and local news ran a Dateline-level segment on Momfluence. Gone wrong. My husband and I spent an entire evening watching people online try to bid for my daughter's exact rainbow unicorn pajamas in a resale livestream. We actually typed into the chat, "Those are stolen." I wish I were kidding. Chase's incredible turnaround best news. My brother, Chase, is finally out from under Vivian's spell, shook but standing. He moved back in with us for a bit and, get this, enrolled himself in a co-parenting support group that meets at the public library. Day 1, he introduces himself and someone goes, "Oh, you're that Chase." As everyone starts sharing stories about the Aunt Diane email scam warnings circulating their feed. Chase is taking therapy seriously, is a way more engaged dad, and is focusing on getting a stable custody arrangement for his son. The girl's grandmother is letting them FaceTime my daughter. They miss each other, and honestly, the sisterhood over missing toys is strong. They now have a no trading unless grown-ups say okay policy. One of them drew a picture titled "No Aunt Diane, only toys from mom." I almost cried. Vivian's whereabouts and the Netflix-level aftermath. Vivian, meanwhile, is still in county jail. She's becoming a minor internet sensation. There are memes. My personal favorite, a Photoshop of her in a Where's Waldo costume with a bubble that says, "Has anyone seen my Nikes?" Her bond hearing is coming up, but with federal charges pending, it's unlikely she'll see daylight, or a children's shoe store, anytime soon. Oh, and apparently Netflix really does want to do something. I've been contacted by 2 docuseries researchers who want to explore family, fraud, and uniquely modern cons. I won't lie, if this means my daughter's Nikes appear in a show's credits, I'm in. Community fallout, because this is small-town America, local group chats and Facebook pages are bonkers. There are rule changes everywhere, mom's group now bans all swapping, the town's buy/sell/trade is invite only, and my neighborhood's next door has a banner that literally says, "If you see Aunt Diane, call the police, not your kid." The joke is both very funny and very horrifying, but in one of those full-circle moments, people are actually supporting Chase and the kids. He's gotten donated toys to rebuild their collection, and a local church is sponsoring a family fun day so the kids can just be normal again. The Nikes will probably get their own booth at this rate. Takeaways, because apparently I'm now a PSA, if something feels off, follow up, kids notice everything. My daughter is now my house's head of security and occasionally leaves toy traps at the front door, just in case. Small town life is way weirder than anyone wants to admit. If someone's promising you a deal online for your kids' clothes, trust but verify. And if you ever see a random person walking barefoot in a thunderstorm with a bag of Cheetos and Barbies, maybe offer them a ride. But keep the doors locked. TLDR, Vivian is facing more state and federal charges. My brother is finally starting to heal and be a real dad. My daughter is now a folk hero for missing shoes. The crime ring is being exposed by the authorities, and Aunt Diane is officially retired. If they ever make a movie, I want a cameo for my kids' sneakers and a voiceover by Ice-T. If you read all this, thank you for supporting us and, please, always trust your gut, your kids, and, above all, guard your Nikes. Edit, just got a tip. Vivian is, allegedly, writing a tell-all from jail. If anyone has advice on how to get a preemptive ban on selling family stories as content, let me know. I might owe my daughter more than just a new pair of shoes. Update 5. I have no clue how we got here, but somehow this madness is still escalating, and yes, I'm still pinching myself, because at this point my life feels like it was ghostwritten by the team at Only Murders in the Building. Please send coffee, a lawyer, or a professional shoe security expert, because apparently, I need all 3. You remember how I mentioned last time Vivian was allegedly writing a tell-all from jail? Well, she's the queen of hold my beer, because now, with the help of one of her new friends inside, she started a recorded jailhouse confessional podcast using the 15 minutes of phone time inmates get. Local radio picked up one of the sound bites, and suddenly my phone starts blowing up with, "Is this really your family?" Here's the kicker, she's still using the Nikes as a symbol. One episode actually starts, "I'm sorry, but a girl's gotta run." And then there's a dramatic sigh. She spins a whole story about the promises she made to her girls, including the infamous shoes, now basically their own character, blames the toxic parenting swap economy, and claims she was framed by a jealous ex-sister-in-law who never forgave her for being prettier. I am officially a villain in someone's multi-state scam drama. There is even a remix on TikTok set to "These Boots Are Made for Walkin'." Did you think TikTok was done? Ha! A parenting influencer, who is, I'd like to stress, not local, makes a whole video reacting to the saga with POV, when your kid's Nikes become evidence, and a dramatic reenactment involving a dollhouse, 4 Barbies in handcuffs, and a chicken coop made of popsicle sticks. My daughter's school calls me because she's suddenly kind of a big deal and kids all want to playdate with the crime shoes girl. She comes home red-faced one day and asks if she's in trouble for being famous for shoes. So now, I'm waking up to emails from the Today Show about reclaiming your narrative and local moms dropping off shoe charms like my house is a Nike shrine. If anyone has tips on how to explain viral fame by toy theft ring to a child, please DM me. Last Thursday was the big preliminary hearing for Vivian. Picture a courtroom packed with a sea of angry moms, 2 local reporters, and someone live streaming, illegally, I think, on Facebook. The presiding judge is trying not to laugh at the sheer volume of evidence. There is now a literal box labeled Nikes, Barbie accessories, assorted children's wear, which now includes a signed photo of the Nikes that Chase's girls made as a thank you to the deputies. Vivian, never missing a beat, stands and delivers a tearful community apology, but pivots halfway through and starts blaming Aunt Diane, again, a literal figment, for her mistakes. The judge has her sit down. 3 separate times she tries to pass a note. Bailiffs are now officially on note-passing lockdown. The real bombshell, her public defender claims Vivian has new evidence that will implicate higher-level organizers. I watch in disbelief as she produces a printout from Blended Blessings for Moms, a Facebook group that's basically MLM meets dark web for children's clothing trades, where, under different aliases, multiple women appear to coordinate swap thefts across 5 counties. Case goes federal, the whole courtroom gasps, Netflix producers outside take notes and someone says season 3, right here. And now, the good news. Chase, newly invigorated, is standing tall, lawyered up, and is working with the authorities and the girl's grandmother to make sure the kids get what they need. He started a community bike repair day, aiming to do right by the neighborhood, and maybe to finally stop staring at shoes all day. He even volunteered to read to kids at the library, the book selection. Missing shoes, found hearts, a guide to not trusting Aunt Diane. The librarian has questions, and so do I, but the kids loved it. Our families, including the girl's granny, regularly Zoom now, swapping stories and baking recipes, and the kids have started an art project called Safe Shoes, Safe Friends. If Reddit can agree, I might auction the original Nikes and donate to the girl's favorite children's charity, as soon as law enforcement clears them as evidence. If you let anyone in, check for extra shoes when they leave. The only Aunt Diane allowed in this family is my late mom's recipe for upside down cake. Every playdate comes with a toy count. Inventory spreadsheets are in, apparently, password protect your Venmo, laptop, and yes, your front door. Local organizers are planning a Safe Kids Day parade. My daughter is Mr. Soul, their idea, not mine, and the Nikes are Grand Marshals. If anyone wants to come see small town chaos at its most wholesome, PM me, I'll bring cupcakes and maybe an autograph session. Joking, mostly, Vivian has turned into a weird sort of folk legend with her Jailhouse podcast. My daughter is at the center of a viral true crime meme. My brother is improving. Kids are processing trauma one shoe joke at a time. And my mailbox is full of Netflix, TikTok, and local news asking if they can make a documentary about the case of the peripatetic Nikes. Never trust anyone who tells you Aunt Diane sent me, and remember, sometimes, the smallest clue leads all the way to international shoe notoriety. I'll update again only if the parade ends with the Nikes on a float, Vivian's courtroom drama makes national news, or anything even weirder happens. Who am I kidding? Of course it will. Stay safe, lock your doors, and for the love of sneakers, check the chicken coop just in case.